There we go. We are live. This is great. So thanks for joining us today. My name is Ben Reeder, and I am co-hosting this with Andy Cooley. I'm a professional photographer, and Andy is our video engineer and audio engineer. And today we are interviewing Jon Dunning. And so Jon is from Your Stream Come True. So Jon, let's just kick it off, man. Why don't you just tell us a little about yourself?
Not a problem. So I am I'm a telecom guy. I'm a geek by trade. I basically, in a nutshell, get the internet to and from where it starts to where it finishes that you all get to enjoy on a daily basis, but on a large national scale. So that's my job, if you will.
Yeah.
As it relates to live streaming, I'm sure we'll get into that a bit, but it kind of came as a fluke, and thanks to COVID, I have this business.
Nice. Now, when we talked a little bit before we jumped on here, you mentioned about even getting your first one. How did that come about? Why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, so I do audio visual with our church here locally in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I'm based. And I had a member of our church who actually is a neighbor of mine as well, who has an event planning business. And she came to me in a panic one Sunday saying, "Hey, I've got this wedding coming up. Nobody's able to show up live because of COVID. How do I get this broadcast? All these remote people, grandma's in Michigan and can't make it in." So I said, well, I do it for the church, and I could probably figure out how to do it outside of the four walls and bring it to you live. Let me do some research and I'll get back to you. So I did that, got on the Google and kind of did some research to figure out how that might work outside of an actual, brick and mortar building, and found some tools and ideas on how that could come together. Bought some materials, as simple as using my own iPhone, figured out there's a way to actually do these broadcasts remotely. And so sure enough, did the first event. It was literally one camera. The iPhone had a lavalier mic plugged into the lightning jack on the bottom of it, onto the pastor's lapel. And from an overhead shot, caught the bride and groom and the entire wedding party. It went off without a hitch. Using Event Live, which was just a phenomenal service, again, that I found online. And from there, it was like the light bulb went off. There's probably a business in this thing. So coordinated with her, got involved with this event planner, and have gotten several jobs out of her as a follow-up.
That's pretty cool. I actually, I kind of have a little bit similar story where same thing, just opportunity came and took advantage of it. But what I'm curious today is really asking you about the technical stuff, because I'm not a techie. Most of the techie stuff I get from Andy, right? So, so tell me, just like, obviously you start with the iPhone, but what have you matured into, I guess, as far as equipment wise and all that stuff?
Great question. So like you, I started as a photographer in Southern California. I did photog on the side. I was a second shooter for a professional photographer out there. Did a lot of wedding gigs and such over a course of about a 10-year span. Again, side business. And so I've always had kind of an eye and an enjoyment of that sort of stuff. Moved to North Carolina. This event became a possibility. I'd kind of shelved that for a while. And this birthed out again that old passion, and allowed me to kind of relive a little bit of that, but in a new and more technical way, which I'm like I said at the start, I'm a nerd by just birth, I think. And so this kind of created a challenge that I thought, I think I could probably pull together some of my passions and actually help some people out. So found Event Live, and their format was, you can use an iPhone to do the broadcast. So I thought that sounds perfect. So I used that, and boy, with I've got an iPhone 12, which has got phenomenal. I mean, I dare it to create a picture that's less impressive than a fancy DSLR as far as quality of image goes. So set that up, and that was the first one. From there, I've graduated to a multicam setup. I know what. If it's too easy the one way, why not make it difficult and more complicated?
Understood.
So I graduated. I found a device created. If you're familiar with SlingBoxes, which are the people have used for years to record television content, there's a company, Sling, that's out there.
Okay.
They actually produced a remote studio device. It's called the Sling Studio. This is the device right here in my hand, and it allows me to take this device anywhere and remotely record up to 5 streams simultaneously, both on the device natively and to broadcast it to the internet via RTMP out to the internet to whatever host company you've got, which is a technical way of saying you can see it on the web. Through this device. It becomes a full broadcast device. And the beauty of it is it's so cool. And again, I am a nerd and I do production through the church. So at the church, we've got this fancy console with the multiple cameras and a switcher and it's all this stuff. This device allows me to simplify that same thing down into an iPad mini, which I basically strap to my arm. And during service, I'm able to camera 1, camera 2. I can throw in slides, I can throw in graphics, overlay video, sound. It's all capable remotely with an iPad and that device, and however many cameras, up to 5 iPhones that you want to bring and set up in different spots. So I generally do an overhead, bridegroom, like that initial wedding.
Yeah.
A bride facing, a groom facing for vows. I have a remote that I go along with, like a steady cam that I can get the other angle. And then usually a back shot that's high to low to catch the whole scene. So that's the typical 5 cam setup for me.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
so
it's cool.
Go back to SlingBox again. So is that self-powered? How does that whole thing
Great
work?
question. Yeah, so for the remote capabilities, it does have a direct power input. So if you've got access to power, great. Absolutely, I would recommend use that every time. That way you're dedicated. But it does come with a battery pack. That's this piece on the bottom. It literally just snaps right in. And that'll give you 2 hours worth of streaming broadcast without any power connection, which is more than any wedding ceremony would ever be. Yeah. Even a Catholic mass would not go that long for a big wedding.
Gotta hope not. Yeah.
It'll do whatever you need. And the beauty is I've shot weddings out at farms, out in like farm pastures with horses going by. That's close enough to internet that I could get a signal without being too remote that I wasn't going to be able to shoot it. But the beauty is, if you needed to, just let the family know, it won't be live at the time of the ceremony, but within however many hours of the production or the service, we could have it online, and I could bring this back because it records natively, and then I could bring back and upload it to the internet. So
does it have an internal memory, or do you have to add a card to it?
Yeah, it's a standard SD card that plugs right in the front.
And so that recording is that just your program out? Does it do ISO recordings of each camera?
It does ISO recordings. You can have a quad. Oh, wow. It's got everything built into the platform. The console itself will give you individual cam stream records. So it records all 4 independently and a quad 4. If you want to do a separate quad of all 4 together, it'll do those. If you want to, for whatever reason, take a 4 shot. It's used a lot with I've seen it applications for Little League games, like the regional ones or the travel ball games leagues. Okay. A lot of those guys will use that because you can throw up scoreboard graphics right over the top in real time and change the scores. It's like a real mobile recording broadcast unit. It's amazing. Wow.
That is pretty. So it looks like it's really, obviously light and compact, stuff like that to be able to travel well.
2 pounds, 3 pounds at the most. This is all plastic. Wow. It's really just a card inside of here. This is just a shell. Heaviest part's the battery.
Oh, okay. Does it have like HDMI ports or Ethernet ports or anything? Or
it does. So HDMI out, both mini and standard size HDMI. It's got USB-C. You can actually, with the USB-C, you can hook up. It comes with a little adapter that'll let you bring in, external drives. If you've got content you want to upload that doesn't want to go on the card, you can bring in graphics or videos or whatever that are stored on little, portable SD drives or even regular hard drives that'll run off USB-C, and they're powered by the device.
Now, can you load anything onto those cards going into SlingBox that you can use, or how's that? Or is it only recording only?
Yep. So what I do with my typical weddings is, since it is a live broadcast and people are generally tuning in remotely, as much as a half hour, an hour early, like, is it on yet? Is it on yet? Even though I send out the invitation, it's a virtual invite that I send out that says, hey, live stream's going to start at 4:30. Tune in then. Here's the link. Look forward to seeing you online. Yeah. People are always in earlier. And so I generally have a video running that I've pre-produced, honestly, using iMovie, because it's simple to do it. I can make it on my iPad I can make
that's nice. Yeah.
So I just create a little graphic intro that says, stay tuned, live stream will begin soon. I'll throw in some, if the bride and groom, I usually ask them for pictures of their engagement or as they were growing up or whatever, and I'll set it to some nice music in the background, and that kind of runs as a slideshow with that graphic coming in periodically saying, stay tuned, starting soon, what have you. And then when it gets ready to go live, throw in one more little slide that says web stream starting in 5 minutes. And then sure enough, as the countdown gets there, you could put a down timer if you wanted to and actually hit it live. But since weddings never really start really on, you really have to just be ready to go live.
I gotta be honest, I struggle with that because I struggle with, you told the bride and groom you're going to start at 4:30, whatever, but it's not 4:30. So do you start? We've done it where we start early, know it's not going to start. And then all I do is I pan the audience like back and forth just to make some kind of like action, because I'm using one camera, so pan it back and forth. But that's brilliant, just something that lets them know that, hey, it's working.
You're in the right place.
You're in the right place. It's working.
Right spot. It is coming. Stay tuned.
Yeah,
generally, and one of those learning things I tell you, because it's funny, every event that I shoot, I learn another little trick and something that I'll tweak for the next one. And a lot of it's been around that sort of stuff. So now it's the giving them that expectation, and even in the invite phase, early up front, they initially know what they get that says, hey, join Brad and Angela on this date for, whatever. It clearly states, I've never known a wedding that started on time, so be patient. The stream will start. So it's just making that aware up front, so everybody's got the expectation from the start. I think that's key.
That's a really good point, because very first wedding I did, I was like, I'll start 15 minutes ahead, right? And I did. And guess what? It ran 15 minutes late, right? Yeah. Well, and then people next to me, right? Because I got an external mic, are talking. So now I'm worried about back chatter. I'm worried about someone saying something off color, and there's people on the other end watching it,
So that's a great thing. The other thing I love about the Sling Studio is it lets you independently control the audio streams. So on those 5 cameras, I can cut to a specific camera and say, that's the audio I want. If it's next to the string quartet, if you want that music going in the background, whatever, right? So you can do that, or you could have your own music track overlay that you bring up as the audio, bring all the cameras down until it's time to go live, and then you bring one down and the others up. And so the lav mic is usually connected to the one camera that's overhead that's kind of down because it's close. And I don't mess with wireless because that's sketchy. So I generally do a wired lav to that one camera that I know is going to be a dedicated connection, so I don't lose audio. And that's my primary audio. It captures groom, it captures bride, it captures officiant. So that's great. That's all I really need. The background ambient noise, I can bring up one of those cameras lightly in the background just so there's a little wah-wah noise, if you will. So it feels live. But other than that, you can independently control all the audio, all from my wrist, all from the iPad, which is genius.
That's awesome.
That is pretty sweet. You see, these interviews are going to cost me money. That's what I just realized, right?
Because we're going to be going and getting gear tonight.
I got to buy the gear. I got to buy this now.
Hello, B&H.
All in, I think the starter for this is like $500, which again is super cheap for this kind of gear.
Wow.
But I think I probably got close to 1,000 in with mic and all that I've added and kind of periphery. You can get that, like you were asking about the SLR cameras, how those transmit. There's a device that connects to the hot shoe of an actual DSLR camera that's got HDMI out capability, and it basically goes right into that transmitter, and that goes. So those are each $150 a piece. So as many DSLRs as you want, 150.
Yeah. So which cameras are you using?
I've got Canon gear, so it's it can be as inexpensive as the Rebel series as long as it's got that HDMI out. It's capable. They've got a list on the site for Sling Studio of all the compatible cameras. So, and they're adding all the time. They're just drivers.
So you just need a clean HDMI signal going into it. That's it.
That's it.
What's the range on that wireless transmission for the video?
So you know what? It's been really impressive. The one I did out at the barn, that was my sketchiest one, and I did want to go live. So this sucker was probably close to 200 feet away from where I had cameras set up. So I played the barn. The main building was it's an old dairy barn that's been converted into this wedding and events venue. Gorgeous spot in Fort Mill, South Carolina. So I got down there, I'm like, oh, it's going to be great. And I'm like, oh, but the internet's probably going to suck. This is going to be hard. So I get there and I do my Wi-Fi checks on my iPhone, just doing speed test and seeing, and sure enough, close to the barn, it's pretty good. As I started getting anywhere close to out where they were going to set up the chairs under this giant oak tree, gorgeous setting, I'm watching the just drop. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm realizing this is going to have to sit close to the barn. And then I've got to hope that the transmitter between this and my devices is going to have enough signal strength to do it. And it'll show you right on the console on your iPad what your signal strength is between devices and this. So you can literally set your things where you get it to the good range, and then that's where they need to sit. If it gets
that's good.
Poor, you can get some cut out. But it's I was probably close. My farthest camera was probably close to 300 feet away from this device. Yeah,
that's impressive.
That's really impressive, especially at that price point, because I know when I've been looking at wireless transmitters, I mean, it's easy to get $600-700 to get an HDMI signal and to be wireless. So that's really cool. And you also use the iPhone. Does it work natively with that?
My cameras are So I guess that's the real point is from my iPhone to this device. That was the Wi-Fi range that it was having to stay within was and there may be, honestly I don't know. I probably something I got to look up now, but there may be some sort of Wi-Fi, almost like a what's the network protocol now that mesh, almost like a mesh network that allows these things to talk to each other. They might kind of daisy chain through each other. I'm not sure honestly how that works at the end of the day.
Okay,
it could be.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
but yeah, it works well. And so one of the questions I think gets back to that bandwidth piece is you can check when you first set up the Sling, it'll let you do a bandwidth check to see, and that's how I know where to place that. They do recommend, and it's got a camera mount shoe on the bottom here, so you can thread in. They recommend this sits high because it's gonna go out as a broadcast out and receiving out. So if you have it sitting on the ground, you're gonna get poor reception. So I usually bring a tripod stand that sits up high in the back, out of sight. No one even knows what it does or what it is, but it's the thing that's running the whole show.
Wow, it's like, so talk about streams. When you're testing streams, what are you looking for? What's your numbers you're looking for?
Yeah, so thankfully with this broadcast and for internet, generally it's 720 is the broadcast level for like a YouTube stream. And that only requires on this Sling Studio between 2 to 3 megs upstream, which isn't too much overhead. It's not a lot of bandwidth necessary. The more you get, obviously, the better the stream. You can actually bump it up and do like 1080p or one of these really nice, almost HD quality broadcasts. But most people are, I guess there are folks that are probably streaming it to a television set at home. So if it could be on a big 60-inch screen, but this last wedding, I was able to do 1080p because I had like 8 or 9 megs upstream. And the way I try, obviously the more the better. I usually bring like one of these along, a network expander or an extender. It's a Wi-Fi extender. So I'll go to the venue a week or two in advance, test out the bandwidth there, to get a feel for what I'm dealing with from the spots where the wedding's actually going to be shot. If it's low at the actual site where the camera gear is going to be set up, I'll bring one of these, plug it into an extension cord, log into the guest Wi-Fi of whatever the venue is, and make this an extender to that, so then it bumps my bandwidth. So I went on this last one from probably about a meg upstream at the actual venue site to like 10 to 12 megs once I put this in line in stream, because it basically took that signal, amplified it, and then where I was, it boosted it up. So
we need one of those, Ben.
Yeah, I was just saying. All right, look at this straight.
It's $69, so super cheap, and it's a Wi-Fi extender. You can get them the best.
So if you got, here's what I'm hearing, right? You get a 100-foot outdoor 100-foot outdoor power cable, right?
Yep.
And now you're 100 foot away from the venue. Yep. Plug into the venue, 100 foot over, and then that could be
right back.
Oh,
it's genius. It does make a big difference.
Do you have to worry about anybody else jumping onto that and chewing up your bandwidth?
No, you can password protect it. You can give it, since it's an extender, you can give it a unique name, and then you can even protect it so nobody else can jump on there.
All right, so it's not just purely extending their permissions and stuff. It's just creating your own little network.
Mine's called YSCT connector. So your stream come true, connect, whatever.
Nice. Yeah. That's great.
Can you use multiple of these things? So say like for example, I'm thinking we got ceremony site, we got reception area, right? And I don't have time to move things after the fact, right? I want one setting somewhere else. Would that create kind of a network?
In that circumstance, absolutely. So what I do, because there is that transition period, usually a cocktail hour that doesn't get broadcast. As soon as the ceremony ends, I've got another little video queued up and ready to go. That's, hey, stick around, more to come, toast, dancing under the stars, whatever. I've got that stream now playing with music and pictures. And stay tuned. Web stream will resume shortly. I'm a one-man show, so I break everything down camera-wise. I reset in the reception area while the cocktail hour is going on. So when they start to do, and now the bride and groom, and they do that whole intro piece, right? All the cameras are already set, one on the bride-groom table, several kind of up and above if I can get them done. And then my mobile is the one that the DJ starts calling them in. I've got them tracking them right in, and I'm just camera 2, camera 3, whatever, flipping through the camera.
We're, at least the way I've been doing it, Andy does it maybe a little different, but it's I'm 100% mobile. So it's a gimbal on a monopod. Yeah. So when it comes to reception time, that is the sticky point, because right now we stay live, right? It'd be great to have that, be able to have that queued in, like, so, hey, there's a little ongoing video, so now I can.
It gives you that breakdown period without losing your audience, right? It's like, hey, stay tuned. There's more to come. You don't want to miss this, and that's why you throw in the little sizzle things like first toast, mother-daughter dance, whatever, whatever, the whole thing.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because honestly, like, I just did one this past weekend, 4 hours long, and that was the challenge, because the cocktail hour is really boring. Sometimes it's fun. I show the cocktail hour. I'll go around, make sure I see the whole thing. It maybe show the property too, because it's a gorgeous property. All the guests kind of feel like, we called it IRL, in real life, right?
Okay.
But at some point, I was just like, spoke into him, like, hey, if you're watching, we'll be back in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Just because there was literally nothing,
Yeah, because then you just blank screen, right? So at least the Sling allows you to put some content in there. And then what I generally do, if I'm set up and there's still time left before reception begins, I've got a little Mavic Mini drone. I usually fly that around the cocktail hour, get some aerial shots of the property, and then in the final edit that goes to the bride and groom, I'll cut that footage in as well that shows some of the cocktail hour, but from 30 feet up and floating around the top.
Yeah, that is pretty slick.
Yeah, again, there's nothing but tape missing on the glasses here.
No, man, that's why we want to talk to you, right? This is the stuff. This is the good stuff. So all right, so we talked about some of the SlingBox part of it, right? Connectivity, and some of the uploads and stuff like that. Have you found any challenges? Anything you're like, hey, look, I just retired this piece of equipment. Like, I tried that, didn't work.
Yeah, so that's interesting you say that. This last wedding, so I say I use all iPhones. I now exclusively use all iPhones because I had one Samsung in the mix. It was an Android. Yeah. And for whatever reason, I'm not kidding you, we are 2 minutes to broadcast, and that camera's not coming up on my console. I'm like, I'm over there, reset, reboot it. Yeah. It wasn't logging into the mothership. So I'm like, because it was my groom-facing camera, so it was going to be the one catching his calls and his whole bit. So I had to forfeit my remote cam myself to be the groom shot cam. So I didn't get to do any float shots during the actual ceremony because I had to be there to switch to him every time there was some reference to him or a smile or the kiss or whatever. And so my iPhones have been stable. The Samsung kind of gave me a glitch, so out she goes. No more. I'm not going to risk it again. I don't know if it's an easy fix, but I'm not going to mess with it. It could have been just a driver, but the iPhones have been solid.
Are you using iPhones with data plans, or are you just buying an iPhone as in,
So that's the beauty is, I can, for connectivity. So there's a couple of things with that question. For the purpose of the broadcast, I don't have to use any of the data because it's the guest Wi-Fi that I'm on for the facility. I'm not using any data for the phones. I'm hijacking whatever signal I'm able to get on that's local there. If I'm in a location that has, hey, we don't have Wi-Fi, I've got a 4G wireless puck that I bring. Yeah. That's a Verizon puck, and it's one of those I just have to log in and it becomes a Wi-Fi hotspot. As long as I've got 4 or 5G signal where I am, I can broadcast, and that is on a data plan.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because we talked about just doing that same thing. We're just getting some extra phones to do the multicam. because we
Well,
looked
the
at,
beauty is, the phones all have hotspot capability now, so I don't even need that puck. If you had a spare phone that you weren't using for broadcast, you could use it as a hotspot.
Yeah.
Well, what we're doing is taking two different providers this way. So the
Smart.
hotspot is one, and then our Wi-Fi or our cellular plan is on a different.
Yeah,
So
I know there's a
whatever's
device
stronger.
out there that I haven't spiffed for yet, just because I don't have enough business in the bank yet for it. But it's and there's some guys that are trying to create a new version of it, but it's basically got multiple carrier hotspots built into it, and I forget what it's called. I want to say like a UB or something, but it's got a name, and it's a device kind of similar to this that's it's nothing more than a multi-carrier broadcast device. So you
like
put it on
bonding,
and it's got an AT&T signal and a Verizon signal, and it combines the bandwidth of the two into one. So you get multiple megabits worth of upstream, where there may be only one or two per. You get three together. It's
really helpful.
But you're having to pay for multiple data plans. That's an ongoing expense. So you got to make sure the business is there to offset. And I'm still burgeoning. I'm not advertised at all out there, so it's all been word of mouth on my business. So.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we do something similar. We're using Speedify. Speedify is an app. So it's an app you can download to your phone. So we're able to take that Wi-Fi and cellular connection, and it's the light version of a true cellular bonding.
Yeah, but it's still pretty efficient though for failover in case your cell signal drops out, it'll move over. But it also does the combination.
Exactly.
Yeah, it also does the combining of it. So I have gotten to locations where my main hotspot only had 2 or 3 up, but when they combined them, I had 8.
Oh, that's plenty, and that would be a ton you'd be able to do nice HD quality with the SlingBox on it.
Yeah, and what's really good about the cellular bonding, the Speedify app that we're using is you can actually tell it what you want as your primary. So I set my phone plan because I have the unlimited plan for that. I'm like, use this if you can, but if you must, use my hotspot because I have it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because some places we have, there is no facility Wi-Fi. We're talking, it's a barn, it's a tent in the middle of the field kind of thing. So.
Yeah. The weddings are not discriminate when it comes to
exactly. Hey, we're in Lancaster County in Pennsylvania, so there's 100 venues here.
Yeah, you got Amish buggies pulling up. Is what you got.
Exactly. Yeah. So we got some of those venues that are just in the middle of nowhere, and gorgeous properties. But so we haven't had a struggle yet. There was literally one. It was just one place. We told them ahead of time, hey, there's literally no signal here. We tried every single plan. We got nothing. They're like, it's okay. Can you upload immediately? And that was the beauty. We literally brought backbone within, a couple creative edits, and boom, they got this beautiful video, and they were super happy.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's killer.
So next, audio. Talk to me about your audio setup. Love to hear that.
Pretty easy. So I've kind of been experimenting with that. Like I said, I went the wireless lav route for an event or two, and it worked, fairly well. I did have some crackle that I didn't like. We can't do anything but hope that you've got a better stream on one of the cameras live. So that's why I've kind of gone to the dedicated wired, if I can, to that primary camera, because it captures really everything that's necessary for the actual event, which is officiant and bride and groom's vows. The background stuff I'm fine with, and I've had 0 issues with that. And it was, I think, a $22 Amazon purchase that has lightning plug connector and just a standard, fuzzy lapel clip from China, I'm sure. And but it works great. Plugs right into the bottom of the iPhone. I've got a splitter on the iPhone, so I've got a power into that as well, right? So on each of those cameras that I set up on tripods, since I am just a one-man show, I hang power devices, power bricks off with dedicated cords into them, so all the phones stay powered for what would be 5 or 6 hours if necessary. Yeah. And so on that primary, it's got a splitter that comes out that's got 2 lightnings. One is for the microphone, the other is for the power. We do the same thing. Little $15 gadget or something like that. We got them off of Amazon, and we bought several of them just in case. Yeah, backups. You never know. Quick. Yeah. It doesn't take much, right? Yeah, exactly. And they've been great so far. Especially me doing those ones that are like 5 hours long. I'm using the same phone the entire time. Yeah, it's amazing. So I'm able to power. Now, granted, I don't do that the entire time because I'm using a gimbal. And so if you have that kind of heavy weight coming off the one side, it messes up your gimbal. But I know it's getting low.
I'm sitting still for a little while, plug that sucker in for 15 minutes, and I'm back in action.
Yeah, I use the DJI one.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
I love them.
That's my floater cam, and it's got the power right in the side of it to power the phone as well. So this brick is a backup battery for your phone as well, which is nice.
I love that. Yeah, we put those on monopods, so get a little bit of a longer stability.
Yeah, a little more float.
Yeah, so I honestly I've been still using the DJI 2, right?
Okay.
I own the 4. The thing about the 4 is when you pan down, the camera goes down. Even though you have that, you can't go clear to the ground with a monopod, right? So, and why I like that is when you got like a little, like the flower girl ring bearer coming up the aisle. I like to get way down to their face level.
Puppy level. Right? You're at the puppy dog level.
Love it. Love it. It's a great shot. But if I'm using a monopod on the 4, and I start taking the whole thing down like this, it pans down, and I have to.
You start looking at the dirt.
Yeah. So then I have to bring it back up. But with the 2, you literally go all the way to the ground, and sweep all the way up.
And it pivots all the way up. That's nice.
I mean, now you get them for like less than $100.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Those things are lasting. Honestly, I'm running them for at least 4 hours straight, and no problem. And I'm moving. I'm moving the entire time. It's not sitting on something. So happy that product as well. But
that's cool.
Yeah. So audio wise, we're always, that's always the big challenge. I like to say anyone who's trying to stream weddings, really, the bride only cares about 2 things, right? She wants to be able to see herself come down the aisle, right? Yep. So you got to have the ability. If you use a multi-camera, you got to have that angle. You got to have the other angle, right? Or if you're what we do is we pan. So we're one camera come down, you pan, you just go with everybody, right? Yes. Go with everybody as they're coming down.
Yeah.
Challenge with that though, the faster you move, bit rate.
Yeah, right? You get the stutter.
So now you go like this, and you could kill your stream because you just went too fast. The bit rate just spikes.
Too much data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were doing that. So they want to see themselves come down the aisle, and the other thing is hear the vowels.
Yeah.
If you get nothing else than those 2 shots, like you want to see the front of the screen, and want to see the watch getting married, and hear themselves give vowels.
Yeah, it's bride, rings, vows, kiss. I mean, those are the mandatories.
Yeah. It's really it. Because even if the background noise, right? The background or the music noise, music is not that high.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, obviously it'd be great if you could get all that, but sometimes you just can't. It's depending on your setup.
And every wedding's different, right? So like the last couple have all had these string quartets, which is great. So my back shot, I try and place a camera relatively close to that I can pot up just a little bit of that sound to be background and overlay without being overbearing. I can have the chatter rumble of everybody chit-chatting with that nice string quartet playing in the background as a dedicated sound source. So
I really like that. That's great.
So Sling takes care of it. The built-in microphones on the cameras are good enough fidelity that they pick up just fine. It sounds good on the
it is kind of amazing what the built-in audio for all that stuff. We're using
technology.
Yeah, it really is. We're using Rode mics for external even.
And that's as good as you get. I mean, and that's, again, I bought the Lav set that I was playing with. It was, a knockoff Korean something. I don't know. But I think that's part of my audio quality with that. If I'd gone Rode, a little more expensive. Again, I need to book a couple more gigs and then I can upgrade the gear. So that works.
Yeah.
The wireless go-tos that we're using, they're really impressive. At least for me, I haven't had any dropouts, and they also do the discrete recording on board.
Cool.
But we bring those back to our setup with like a little mixer on board that's phantom power, so we can have an onboard shotgun mic for close stuff, and then switch over to wireless lavs for whatever else is too far.
Which is, I'll tell you what, that's great for a device like this as well, because it does have a line in. So you can do a level line in for your audio if you've got a little on-site mixer that you're using.
Oh,
capture audio, and you'll be able to mix streams as well. So you can direct in audio.
John, you're costing me money, man. I'm
already money is not the same, right?
I know. I'm on B&H right now looking at this stuff. It's gonna be poison our toys, right?
That was my excuse to buy the drone. It's so funny you say that, because I'm like, well, I need it for the business,
Yeah, exactly.
Argument too.
It's so cool.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So our drone stuff So you're not using this during ceremony at all. This is kind of just property stuff after the fact.
There have been applications, I guess, with Sling where, you know, if you've got multiple shooters, that's probably a possibility because you could drop that in as a stream. Because you know, a lot of these drones, the DJI stuff anyway, has Wi-Fi connectivity. So as long as that comes in as a Wi-Fi stream, you can pick it up as a stream source on there and drop it in as a shot. But since it's just me, I don't have the capability. So I shoot it. I usually go as part of the invitation that I send out before the events. I'll go out, like I said, a week or two before and just get some establishing shots that I'm going to cut in as the invite video and drone shots and all of that. And that becomes, hey, join us on February 29th. And it's a shot of the venue from, you know, 30 feet up, doing a sweep around the area of the pretty farmhouse or whatever it is, music laying in, Jen and Ben are getting married, blah, 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 whatever, you know, and build that little invitation as a little, almost a movie quality, kind of fading in, fading out shots and the whole bit.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible, but it sounds like some of the stuff is a nice kind of upgrade, you know.
Well, it's an add-on, right? So when I sell it as a package, you can have the live stream for this amount. Hey, if you want, I create a virtual invitation that includes footage, music, background to set the mood and get the guests ready for the event. That's an add-on for optional cost. And then reception, that's an optional cost per hour. And then, you know, that's how I kind of bill accordingly. So I've got the flat rate and then why they want to do all the other stuff because it makes it so much more special. Yeah,
exactly. Well, that's super cool. I mean, you covered a lot of great stuff with us today. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I really appreciate you being on here because this is really super cool. I do want to give a quick plug of your website here. So this is your stream come true, right?
That's it.
And so where exactly are you located again in
we're in Charlotte, Charlotte, North Carolina. So I can serve anywhere from the mountains, the Blue Ridge Parkway, down to the coast, the Outer Banks, Southern Virginia, and most of South Carolina. That's kind of my footprint. So if you've ever heard of Asheville, North Carolina, the Biltmore Estate up there, gorgeous property. There's all sorts of amazing spots out here to see. Yeah, no, this is great. We appreciate this has been a real pleasure having you on, and you definitely cost me money today. And hey, listen, I'll be very interested to keep in touch with you guys and just keep following each other because obviously these conversations are valuable just to help each other. That's what this business is about. Well, we're gonna be doing more of these. We got some other people lined up, and you know, I learned a lot from the last one I did, and learning a lot now for this one. And you know, I think we all could use each other to really figure out what, you know, how to best serve our customers on this, whether or not be weddings or live events. You know? Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, honestly. So, all right. Well, thanks again. Thanks for your time, and everybody. Hey, if keep watching. We're going to be on YouTube and Facebook, and check out. So this is all this stuff's going to be broadcasted on Event Lives, those spaces, and we'll hope to see you in the next video. Thanks, everybody. Awesome. And Andy, thank you guys.